Hello everyone, it's Nick Lawson with CDC Take Charge Software, and this is Lesson 8 on writing xBasic code in Alpha Software. We have talked many times about controlling the property values of objects, and in each example we've done one property value at a time when making changes using xBasic code. Today we're going to look at changing several properties. In fact, making one object perform multiple functions. Let's say, for example, you have two buttons. Here we have enter new message and save message. Each button has its own text, its own icon, its own bubble help, enter new message, save message, and obviously its own code. Well, let's say like on a smartphone, you don't have much real estate, so each area of that phone performs multiple functions based on what the programmer designs to run at specific locations on the screen. We can do the same thing. If I go ahead and click on Review Taker Messages, these three buttons are going to change. Now we have Quick Filter, its own help, and a new icon. Clear Filter, its own bubble help, and a new icon. And Ascending, its own bubble help, and a new icon. If I click the button back, it goes back to the way it was. Now, let's take a look and see how that's done. So I'm going to exit out of here, and we're going to go ahead and close our form. Go to our control panel. Right? And we want to look at take message. Now, each of these buttons, we're controlling the objects of the text on the button, the icon, the bubble help, and the code. So what sets that value is this button right here. So on the onPush event, we are first setting the condition so that we're either looking at the take message detail form or the take message list, which is a browse of all messages taken by the logged in user. Here we set the values for button 3, 5, 6, and 2. First we set the text, then we set the icon, then we set the bubble help. All done with xBasic code and naming the property values that we want to change. So one click of a button sets all these things at one time. Now once that button is set, we then take and use the text on that button, which is button 5, I believe, or no, button 3, and we take and convert everything back. Pretty simple. That way you could have one button perform as many functions as you want to, or as complicated as you want to make the code. And that's a good way for controlling the real estate on a screen so that you can get more done. And when you're working with users, the simpler you make the screen and the more familiar you make the screen, the easier it is to train them to use the screen. So keep that in mind when you're designing. Now we also said we were going to look at how to make a progressive lookup for the from when the user is taking a message. So let's go ahead and bring it back up in edit mode. Here we are. So we're going to pick a user, and we'll say we're sending a message to Michael, and it's going to be from someone that already exists. So let's do Adam. There you go, Adam Sandler. We select it, progressive lookup. Now when we click on of, since he exists, it automatically goes out, finds the company, and writes it in. He telephoned, and he wants you to call him, and he wants you to call him at the office, which is defaulted on the new entry. You click in a field, it automatically fills in the office phone number. And that's pretty slick. Now, let's say that we're taking a message for someone, or for someone from someone that's never called before. So now we're going to take and enter a new message. and we're going to send this one to, let's scroll down, pick George. He never gets a message. And it's going to be from Mary Sue. There you go. We have no Mary Sue. All right. Oh, actually, I overwrote Mary, but that's all right. Sue's good enough. Of Susie B. Company. All right. And she called and wants you to call her office number. Now here it's not popping it up because she doesn't exist. We're going to make up a number, 913-451-5555. There you go. Now we know that she's become a new contact for George, and we want to put her in the address book. So we click Add. Goes out, comes back with a little message, hello, contacts now entered. That's it. How do we know that it worked? Well, let's go ahead and create a new message from Sue for somebody else in the company. Enter new message, and this one is going to go to Jeffrey. All right, it's from Sue, S-U-E. There she is. Okay, of Susie B. Company, and her office number. It writes it in. Now that's pretty slick. Okay, let's take a look at how all that's done. So let's save it. And we're going to take and exit on out of here and bring it back up in design mode. First, we had to make a couple of assumptions. The first assumption is that the first call field will always be office. That way, when we're entering and adding the new contact to our address book, it finds the value for office for phone type and then puts this value in for their company ID and their company phone number. The from field, we want to take and set that up to be a record list combo box. There you go. It's actually an edit box so that we can add new records. And then we set the choices. We return the value of contact, and it's the first is contact, then company ID and department. Now, once that is entered, and we go to depart the field, the tab order takes us to message from company. And what we're doing is we're committing the record, then we're grabbing the record number for messages, which is the parent of our set. Once we have the record number, we open messages, we fetch to that record number, we grab the from value and assign it to a variable called a name. Then we close messages. Now we need to take and return the company ID. So since the contact already exists, they already have a company. So the company ID is stored in people. So we use a name, which is the contact name, to find that value in people and return the company ID. Then we take an open company and grab the max value for that ID. And this could have been done with a lookup C, but I did it this way. And we return the value of company name. It writes it into the field and it's done. All right, next we do the same thing basically when it comes down here, only this time instead of departing the phone type field, we take and do it on arrive of the phone 1 field. So it says if phone type 1 equals office, which we know it does, then CA1, again, we go to people, we find the company ID, we open up company, and now we're returning the phone number instead of the company name. Exact same formula, returning a different value. Very simple. Now let's look at how we add a new record to our address book. One push for the add button. First thing we have to do is we go to people and we look to see if the contact exists. So we set a filter, contact equals var a name, which we set as part of the data entry process, and we assign it to CName, which is character name. If CName comes back blank, then they don't exist in the company. We want to write that information in. If they do exist, then we skip the insert and we go right down here to our else part of the statement, which says, oops, contact already entered, thank you. Now, Writing the values to our two tables, people and company. We've been doing everything in low-level code in xBasic. What I thought I would do in this particular circumstance is show you how to do a high-level append operation for these two procedures. It's really pretty simple, and you can follow the wizard that pops up on the screen. If you go to the table, which is the master table, in this case people, right-click, choose an operation, select append, and follow the wizard. It'll do it basically for you. But basically what we've done is we set our table to people, and we set our transaction table to messages. We have no filter because we're appending all, and we do have a filter on a transaction, which is record number equals bar r MBR. Remember, we set that value as part of the data entry. Now we have three fields that we're updating in people. We're adding company ID, word for the first name, and the last name. So for company ID, we use the function word, and we take the phone number and we want to parse out the little dashes. So we grab the first value using the dash as a separator, then the second value, and then the third value, and basically string them together. That makes a company ID field without any dashes in it. For the first name, we do word of the message from using the first value, which is the first name, and then for the last name, we use the second value. Pretty straightforward. T-append runs the operation, and then T-close closes the table because we open it. It's very important that you close the table, or you end up with open tables in the background, and ultimately that can cause you problems when you're trying to call tables by name. For company, we do the same thing except we're setting four values. Here it's ID, which is company ID, same procedure as above for the ID and for company ID and people. We set the company name, the DBA name, and the phone number. Same thing, we append and then we close, and then we pass the message, UE message box, hello, contact now entered. That's it. Very simple. A simple solution for doing this, and it gives you great control over the objects on the screen. That's it for today. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.